schedule just a short meeting because we know everyone at the moment is really on tight schedules. So we're going to go to focus on the meeting already. So welcome everyone, and thank you for your interest and contribution into the Economia Creativa Virtual Workshop, New Economic and Business Models Post-COVID-19. And of course, first and above all, we would like to express our thoughts and concerns for the human losses due to the coronavirus outbreak, and our gratitude to all of the professionals and institutions working hard to tackle this huge challenge in different fronts, and particularly, of course, to the healthcare professionals. So, and then because, like I mentioned, our workshop is small. I mean, it's short in time. So we're going to move already to the agenda, and from across the different geographies, from America and Europe, among others. And without any more delay, I will introduce to our first speaker today, which is Angels Solans. She's Managing Director of Unilever Food Solutions. And she got 23 years of expertise in food, drug, and consumer goods in multinational companies. And she will shed light into the coronavirus impact and possible scenarios, in particular in hospitality. So the floor is yours, Angel. And thanks very much, by the way, for being with us today.
No, thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. From Spain, as you know, one of the countries that has been more severely hit by this coronavirus, and also from one of the industries that first was affected by it as well, which is the HoReCa business. And we think that the HoReCa business is now suffering a temporary shutdown, and we expect this to be clearly temporary. In Spain, is a sector that represents around 6.5% of the GDP, so it's an important industry that firstly reacts to any economical environment. It's usually the first sector to react, but also is also the first sector to recover. And this is also what we expect. It's been a sector that it's been very strong in Spain for the last 5 years, growing for the last 5 years. And right now is in a strength position much more different than what it was in 2008. So we really are looking forward to get some recovery on the summer campaign, where it's a very strong period for our business. And we think that the reopening for the summer can bring again to get all the restaurants and bars and cafeterias ready to operate at full service. It's a sector that has been in constant change. So I think one of the strengths will be the ability to adapt to this change. It's quite an agile business. And we will need to demonstrate that once more. One example of this, I think, it's how the consumption has been moving to the delivery business, and how this delivery, it's becoming one of the pillars right now in this situation. But it will continue to be after the COVID crisis. At the same time, it will require to work all together. Companies, manufacturers like us, and key associations. For example, in Spain, we've got Hostelería de España as one of the main associations, Marcas de Restauración. All the trade associations, manufacturers, and operators will need to work together and help each other in the full chain to get out of this situation, which we think it will be temporary. So that would be the first introduction from my side.
Thank you very much. And just one quick question before we move to the next contribution. What do you think? You mentioned that the consumption is being moving into delivery. What do you think will be the impact into full service and quick service restaurants within the industry?
Well, as I said, we hope this would be temporary. Governments are putting all their support so that this does not go farther than a temporary crisis. As I said, I think the sector and the full service restaurants are very strong industry in Spain, capable to recover. Obviously, it will depend on how long this lasts and obviously on the financial circumstances or the financial support that they get, which basically liquidity will be one of the main tensions. So right now, government aids and also some support from different associations and partners is there. So they should mitigate this effect.
Okay, thanks very much. That's a very good insight. And our next speaker is Jessica Scholl, and unfortunately from Digital Therapeutics Alliance, she cannot be with us live, but she has sent a recorded presentation, which I will share the introduction, and then the full presentation will be uploaded into the event website. So I will see if the sharing screen and everything works fine. If not, we will move into the brainstorming session. One second. Well, I will just, I think this 5 minutes of the presentation, which is much longer, give a good idea of what is digital therapeutics. And like I was mentioning before, we will share the presentation in our event website so that you can have full access to the presentation. So now we are going to move on into the an open brainstorming session in which everyone is welcome to contribute. The key aim of this brainstorming is to analyze from this what you already have contributed in the registration form from the impact in different industries or sectors, but also to see what is the path to recovery or positive, or how these sectors can be in the post-COVID-19 war. And more importantly, which behaviors, or the same importantly, but very importantly as well, which behavior from the consumers and from the users in your sectors do you think will stick from this period of confinement, or which behaviors will switch and change? So the floor is open if anyone want to be the one kicking off. If not, I will be, moderating the session, asking a particular question to each of you if you like. So who is looking for beginning this brainstorming session? Anyone? For example, in creative industries, we have some representative from creative industries, I think. So if you would like to contribute.
Which one you mean?
Or you can, tell us your input, Berislav, from for the international trade fairs, which is obviously a sector very much affected as well from this crisis.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good morning. Actually, good afternoon to everyone from Zagreb, Croatia. Besides coronavirus, we had last Sunday and last couple of days several earthquakes. Sunday we had two very strong ones, so some damages in the city, but fortunately not so difficult as it could be seen maybe from different reports. So life is coming back to normal. I would say normal, that means just dealing with corona crisis. So I will be happy to share my experience and the latest information from event and trade fair industry, which is in a way also creative industry. So I believe we can contribute to your session and actually the topic you are covering today. So definitely the events, live events, all kinds of meetings, conferences, congresses, and trade fairs were hit among the first with the crisis, because a lot of countries stopped organization of bigger events. The companies themselves as organizers also postponed or canceled different kind of events in Europe and worldwide. So CBBS as consulting and lobbying company is many years part of the UFI. UFI is Global Association of the Exhibition Industry, and we just had last week the similar online meeting with European Commission regarding possibilities of support of European Commission and the national governments to trade fair and event industry. But maybe just to summarize some figures to understand. So what happened to the exhibition industry, event industry globally. So for the time being, some 500 international events, trade fairs were canceled or postponed. Something like 200 of such events was postponed and canceled in Europe. So these events are actually very important, especially for small and medium-sized companies, because small and medium-sized companies in Europe are backbone of the European economy. So they are using such events for the meetings, to getting the new orders, to meet the new clients, to see what's going on new in the field of their industry, they educate themselves, and normally they network during such events. So they really have the problem because there is one estimation that because of the cancellation of these events, something like 6 billion euros new orders will not be created, and that in a way in the coming months we can expect that something like 50,000 jobs related to such industry, so that means full-time employees, will come in the question. So definitely exhibition industry in discussion with the European Commission, but also with the national governments, is trying to explain what's going on and trying to get some sort of support and additional measures from the Commission and the national governments. In this discussion with European Commission, the industry said that there will be big support of the European Union to open maybe some funds which are not used already, so that these funds can be used by SMEs and maybe by event industry. So definitely flexibility on employment regulations, deferral of taxes and social contributions, liquidity and working capital, which could be, let's say, more supported or available for the industry. But I believe that this is similar what entrepreneurs in more or less all the countries right now are asking from the government. And maybe one positive information is that, let's say, in Denmark, the Danish government was the first one which created a fund of 12 million euros to directly support the organizers of international events, to give them, let's say, some sort of budget, so to overcome the very unpleasant situation which is going on. And yesterday I received the information from China that one big international show end of April in Shenyang was announced to take place, so that obviously the industry is coming back very quickly, because we know that everything started in January in China. So right now we have in 3 months the first event is announced, international event, which will take place. So I believe that in the whole situation, this is one positive sign, not only for the event industry, but also for business community, tourism, traveling industry, because somehow everything is involved. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ursula, for this great insight and your contribution. And I don't know if it's also Elaine, you would like to explain a little bit about what you mentioned in the forum about the steps you are taking in the film industry to both survive, you mentioned, financially and creatively. So that would be very interesting to hear, to listen for sure.
Hi everyone, thank you for organizing this. It's been very interesting so far. I hope everyone is safe. I am Elena from Georgia. I'm a film producer. I run a small film production company called Parachute Films. And in the forum, when I was asked to kind of put my contribution, I put that films are unique creative products in the way that they take much longer to create than many other creative products like music albums, etc. Films may take from 2 to 6 to sometimes 10 years to from development to post-production and then to distribution to create. So we've been very much affected in the sense that our company is quite well established in Georgia already. We have 4 feature films which are nationally funded by the Georgian Film Center. But this spring was supposed to be sort of our introduction to the international film community, because we had our first feature documentary debuted in North America. Of course, everything is cancelled now. And the way that films are, as films have their own dramaturgy, our business approach also has a dramaturgy. We have a whole plan for the industry section of the festival where we are going to present our film, of how it is going to impact our future collaborations with the people we are meeting. So one success is really built on another success in the film industry. we are very much used to dealing with uncertainty because we are dealing with locations which get cancelled. We're dealing with weather all the time, a lot of money which can be lost, due to one day of shooting or one cast member being, feeling unwell on the day. But Corona was really something we weren't ready for as a country, I believe, because in Georgia, unfortunately, we have practically a non-existent system for supporting the creative industries in such crisis situations. We are very much advocating with the Georgian National Film Center to come up with new possible ways to support the artists, but there has been nothing ready. There was nothing in place at all for this. So we see many of the countries and their creative industries having special relief funds, urgent support for artists. And when I put creative impact, it's very important because we deal with artists who have their own creative crises every once in a while. We very much act as business leaders as well as sometimes psychologists and friends of the artists that we work with. And unfortunately, one thing I think which has impacted the Georgian creative industry so far, and in this situation particularly, is the lack of any kind of even awareness of mental health in the creative sector. And when you are dealing with such kind of uncertainty, when you have freelancers who don't get any kind of financial support, I think the minimal that could have been done and could have been in place was some kind of at least mental support to be able to deal with this uncertainty. So we are pushing for these changes, and as a company, we're really taking the opportunities to learn, to exchange experiences with people. And what we have done is we have put our efforts into developing digital services, because we were already developing another wing of our company, which was music licensing, because in Georgia we have very low regard for intellectual property rights, and somehow we have accumulated quite a lot of music and intellectual property rights for different creative products. So we are very much working on developing a platform called Basement, which will be all the music and creative stuff we have found in the houses of the artists, which we are now licensing and providing to other companies. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much for your contribution, Elena, and also very interesting. And also Sina would like to add briefly some remarks, particularly in the area of healthcare and what is coronavirus can imply in the healthcare system and policies. Sina, just very briefly, because we have just not much time already.
Sure. Well, what I think the COVID situation's really brought forward, I think it's really moved the future forward, actually, when it comes to healthcare. So telemedicine and all these remote monitoring systems, where you really thought was more kind of in maybe the midterm future, has really brought it now. And also an aspect of whether there was any doubt about the value of those technologies is real-time value now. And so I think the adoption rate and acceptance rate from regulators, from healthcare systems, from consumers is now and is here. And I think this situation will actually accelerate improvements in these technologies, interoperability and capacity and such. So when it comes to business models post-COVID, I think what's going to be offered is going to be really important as you're looking at business models to accept the value and sustainability and improvements in the healthcare system and value that you're adding to doctors and consumers and users of products. And so I think all of that's going to have to build into the agility of how you form business models, and it's going to have to be per product. It might be different, and I think that's going to be important. It's going to be expected.
Thank you. That's really also very interesting, the focus on value. And so I think this is for sure across industries as well, one of the key pillars for the post-COVID world. And if anyone else would like to add any remark briefly, particularly in terms of which behaviors you believe they will stick after this, do you think social distancing will stay on people's mind and behavior? Anyone?
I believe that, yeah, maybe I can just say a few words. So definitely I believe that besides the technology, digital opportunities, online communication, I think that people will always need this face-to-face communication, and that as soon as the situation will improve and people will be able to travel and to meet, so the situation will start over in the event industry, but in all kind of business community and meetings. And maybe what happened, what was in a way good for the event industry, so that the coronavirus outbreak in a way speed up the implementation of online and digital systems to the traditional industries like trade fairs. So for example, ITB, the biggest tourism show in Berlin, when it was cancelled actually a week before the start in beginning of March, they enabled to the people to communicate through one digital platform they created for the event. So obviously, some things are forcing the industries maybe to change the business models and to think a little bit different about the future opportunities and to move in the new direction.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Verislav. Do you think any of you, including of course also you, Verislav, do you think the physical and the digital war, how this will, what would you think will happen? I mean, will be digital mainly the source of value, or this in the area in which businesses will focus, or as Verislav mentioned, the face-to-face will come back as soon as the situation rebounds?
I think we will see a faster rate of adoption of some remote working now that people will see that it works and that we're getting used to it. And regarding consumers and in the hospitality business, I think the worry for hygiene and usage of more sanitizers will remain forever. And it cannot be, we could even imagine as normal that in every restaurant table, once this is passed, we will probably see a small bottle of hand sanitizer in every table and this kind of things. I think this will stay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And in the film, well, in the film, Elaine, I think is obviously they are of course already platforms like you were mentioning as well. You're focusing on, but what do you think will be in the audience development, the audience engagement? How do you think this will affect into the people behavior and consumer behavior? They're visiting museums and visiting, going to cinema. What do you think this will happen from your point of view?
It really depends on which place we speak about, because Europe, for example, has regulations, and there is European funding, which does support small cinemas, small music venues, and they find it as an important part of culture, an important part of lifestyle. But in Georgia, because our economy is built around the, I don't know, benefit of businessmen rather than its citizens, and the development of creative industries is still not being viewed as an important part of social life, because we have a lot of poverty, a lot of a big social divide. In Georgia, I think more and more people are starting to see films and watch films, which unfortunately is not benefiting the artists in any way, because all of the films, as I said, we have very little regard for intellectual property rights. So we are champion pirates of Europe, and it's very difficult on our end. But in Europe, I think it will go back to, I think we will start to value more. And what is interesting to me, I have really discovered that in the film industry, a lot of work really comes out of people sitting in the same room and physically being there, where there's this creative magic happening. Because of course we have the virtual systems in place to work with an editor, to work with a color specialist or the sound designer, but it really is about this kind of synergy and this perfect moments, which is why we do what we do, to get this kind of collaborative effect. So this is quite difficult on our end, but I really hope it will come back to normal quite soon, and we're doing our best to kind of prepare ourselves for these kinds of future gatherings. So.
Thank you very much, Elaine, and thanks very much, everyone, for your active participation today. Just as a concluding remark, we will summarize in a brief report, in a briefing, the conclusions of the workshop, which we will share with you and also will share in our website. We hope every one of you stay safe and look forward to keep in touch and have a wonderful time. Thank you very much for participating today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.